podcast episode of Coffee, Homes, and Loans. We appreciate you coming in week after week every Monday because we really love this. This podcast has become our baby, along with all the coffees that we're drinking.
Yep.
So today we're going to talk about a real estate transaction from beginning to end and the do's and don'ts, or maybe the horror stories that can come along with it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the pre-approvals.
Yes, so when you're ready to buy a house, you want to get a pre-approval. So the first thing is going to be get all your documents together. So you need to your work history, we need to run your credit, we need to look at your credit report, and we also need to look at your current employment. So once we look at all the package together, we're going to issue an approval letter. This approval letter is subject to you finding a property, subject to you keeping your employment, subject to nothing changing on your credit, so don't get a new car, don't consign for anybody else, etc. And also subject to the property passing the appraisal inspection that it needs to go through. So once you're done with your pre-approval, make sure that you understand what the numbers are. Make sure you know what your down payment is going to be, where the closing costs are coming from, and don't make any major movements. So don't open any new credit cards, don't quit your job, don't make any job changes. So if you are going to go work for a new company, make sure to consult your loan officer before you accept a new job offering, because that could change the whole outlook of the pre-approval.
Gotcha. Okay, so next we're going to talk about finding the home.
Yeah, so you're going to go with your agent to look for a house, and you're going to look at different homes. And when you're looking at homes, it's my advice that you don't let your landlord know that you're looking at homes just yet, because perhaps they will take that as a notice. And then what if the offer doesn't get accepted, or what if there is a problem down the road? So you just want to go look at homes, stay within your budget, and try to see what's reasonable for you. Even if you can qualify for a lot, ask about your monthly payment. Can you actually afford it, or is it going to be a stretch and you're going to be suffering month to month?
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be house poor when you're so excited about a new home.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so next we're going to talk about submitting our offer.
Yeah, so your real estate agent is going to go through the entire purchase contract, the residential purchase agreement with you, and put together the terms for the offer. So in the purchase contract, you're going to have the address of the home, how much you're going to offer for the house, how much you're going to deposit for an earnest money deposit, which is a good faith deposit, that you intend to buy this house as long as you can get a loan and the house will appraise for the value that you're offering. Mm-hmm. You will also put the inspections that you are going to do on the house, whether it's a regular home inspection, a roof inspection. Sometimes some properties here in Las Vegas that are in the more rural areas are going to have a septic tank. Yeah. They're going to have a well. So you're going to outline in there the inspections that you're going to do. And there is a due diligence period of 10 days. So you're going to put or it can be less depending on what you're going to offer. Okay. But you're going to outline how long you want a due diligence period for, how long you have to do an appraisal on the property, and how long you have to obtain a loan credit approval. So where the bank is like, okay, here's the money, pretty much. And when you're going to do your close-up escrow. So all of these things go into the contract, and this is a legal binding contract. So once it gets accepted, the seller is promising to sell you the house, and you're promising to buy it. A lot of things can change in between, but if everything is going according to plans, you're legally obligated to buy the house, and they are legally obligated to sell in the house unless you both agree that you're not going to do the transaction anymore. So just make sure that you are okay with the terms that are in the contract and the fees that you're paying.
And that's why you want to get a good loan officer, because they will basically explain X, Y, and Z for you, correct?
Yeah.
So you're not, under the covers of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So you're taken care of.
Yeah, and also a good real estate agent to make sure that they are going to negotiate on your behalf, and they are going to protect your interest, which is the earnest money deposit. Because if you don't meet any of the contingency dates and you don't perform as a buyer, the seller is allowed to keep those funds. So absolutely. That can be $1,000, it can be $5,000. If you're buying $1 million house, it can be up to $20,000. So you don't want to lose that.
No, so you definitely want to get people you trust. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the opening of escrow.
Yes, so after you submit the offer, the seller will review it and they will respond to it by accepting, by doing a counter offer, which you will then accept. So maybe you offer 300, they counter, you're like, no, I want 310, and you're like, oh, 310 works perfect, and then you accept that. Or they are going to, they're just going to deny the offer. They don't really want to deal with you, so then you move on. But in the case that they do accept the offer, then your real estate agent is going to open escrow. This means that in part of the contract was who your title and escrow company is going to be. And this was one of our first episodes. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 with Victor Vasquez, because he talks about opening escrow, so we can refer back to that one. And it's going to be in the contract who that person is going to be for the title and escrow, and the real estate agent is going to send them over the contract and all the contact information for the buyer, the seller's agent, your loan officer, and any assistance and transactions coordinators that are part of the whole process.
Awesome. Okay, so next we're going to talk about home inspection.
Yeah, so after you have opened escrow, you're going to deposit your earnest money directly to the title and escrow company, and then you are going to schedule with your real estate agent a home inspection. You're going to hire a third party and you're going to pay them directly for the home inspection. The home inspector will go to the property and they are going to look at everything mechanical in the house. So they're going to look at the air conditioning, the heater, the appliances, make sure that all the outlets are working. Do note for any structural damage. So if they see cracks on the driveway or like right at the front of the house, if there's something that is lifting, maybe a tree root is growing through. If they see a few shingles missing on the roof, they'll point that out as well. If they see that there is some like water stains on the backyard, that is very common because we have a lot of like irrigation that just like sprays everywhere. They're going to note that out, so you are aware of what could go wrong with the house. They're going to make recommendations for safety, for cosmetic, and for long-term. And if they see something in the roof, and because they're not a roof specialist, they're going to say, we recommend you get a roof inspection, or we recommend you get a plumbing inspection. And this is a key aspect. A home inspection is not required by most loans. There are very few that require them, but it's highly recommended because you want to make sure that those things are pointed out. We have a client that is no longer in escrow because when she did her home inspection, there were big issues with the roof and the plumbing. So imagine if she had skipped that, bought the house, and then run into those issues, it would be very difficult to come up with the money to fix those things. So home inspection is super important.
Absolutely. You want to make sure that your new home has good bones. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the appraisal.
Yes, so once everything is good with a home inspection, your real estate agent and you are going to talk about the repairs that you're going to request from the seller. So this is where more negotiation comes into play. So let's say there is nothing major, but you need certain things done in the backyard. Maybe you need something replaced inside the house. Maybe the trash disposal or a couple of outlets are not working. You can say, hey, seller, give me money to repair when I buy the house because it's nothing major, or you repair it and then we can keep moving forward. So once all of that comes into an agreement, then we as the lender or the mortgage company, we're gonna order your appraisal. So we hire another third-party company that you pay directly to as well. You never give money to your loan officer or your realtor. You just pay the parties that are actually performing those inspection type of jobs. And the appraiser is going to go to the property. They're going to do a very, I don't want to say superficial, but a very, an inspection that is not so in-depth as the home inspection, to make sure that there are things for safety and that it will apply to the loan program. So they are going to make sure smoke detectors are in there, the AC is working, that the water heater in the garage or whatever it is in the house has the straps, so in case of an earthquake, which normally doesn't happen like a strong earthquake here, but it doesn't fall over. That the another big one is that the garage door from the laundry room to the garage is fireproof, because in case there's a fire in the garage, that door should prevent the fire from going into the home. So they're going to make sure that the ceiling is there, that it's closing correctly, so safety type of things. If they see anything that is alarming, like again, another example is the roof or cracking or maybe it was raining and they see a leak coming to the house, they're going to say, okay, we need this specific inspection for the house to be qualified for the loan. So, and then they're also going to give us the value of the property. So again, if you offer $300,000, we got to make sure the house is worth $300,000. So your realtor will have already run comps around the area to make sure that your offer has the correct value. And that's pretty much what the appraiser is going to do. Look at the recent sales in the neighborhood, most likely within a mile if it's a populated area, or they can go further out if it's like a horse type of property.
Perfect. All right. So close to closing, but underwriting.
Underwriting. So at Movement Mortgage, we go super fast. So the underwriting is usually done even before the home inspection. But it will go back into underwriting once we have all the documents from the client, the property, and the appraisal for a final approval. So the underwriter is going to check and see you are still at your same job, you haven't incurred any new debt, the property has the value that it needs, is safe to live in, and nothing has changed as far as the initial approval. So this is again very key that you don't buy any new appliances middle of the transaction, make any job changes. And I have had cases where my clients have quit their jobs before closing, and then there's nothing we can do. They have no jobs, or they decide to start their own business middle of the transaction because they maybe were going to do a business in the house or something like that. And it's all because they weren't aware of the repercussions at the end. Yeah, so the underwriter is going to make sure everything is the same.
Yes, absolutely, and that is good because it keeps you safe from losing that house, that opportunity. Okay, so last but not least, closing.
Closing, yes. So when you get to closing, by this time all the documents are the title and company, and then you know what your fees are going to be, and you're pretty much ready to give them your down payment and get the keys. So during this closing, you want to make sure that you turn on the utilities, transfer them under your name, ideally 1 or 2 days before closing in case somebody has to go to the property. Maybe you never had an NB Energy account and you need to establish a deposit. Just allow enough time between setting it up and the closing, and then make sure that you have the keys before you schedule a moving truck. That is the best thing to do, because a lot of the times you're so excited, you schedule the moving truck and then something gets delayed at closing. Maybe a FedEx envelope was too late, maybe the wire didn't make it on time, maybe there was a missing signature on all the documents and you have to go back to the title and escrow company. So it's important to be a little bit flexible, but working with a team of professionals will prevent from those things from happening, right? And then you're done. And then after that, then you can buy your refrigerator if you want. I mean, we always encourage savings, but you're free to move on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for answering all those questions. I know that it helps me to help you guys in our future transactions, and I know that it helps you guys kind of to understand what you're going into. So thank you very much, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.